As Ukraine's counteroffensive extends into Russian territory and the situation on the battlefield shifts, China's Premier Li Qiang, Army Commander Li Qiaoming, and other top officials visited Moscow to discuss economic and military cooperation. This visit has raised concerns in the international community, with rumors circulating that China might send troops to Russia to join the conflict. On August 22nd, a Chinese military delegation led by Army Commander Li Qiaoming arrived in Moscow at the invitation of Russia's Army Commander Oleg Salyukov. Russian media reported that the two sides discussed key issues of mutual concern regarding military cooperation, but no further details were released. However, it's clear that military cooperation between China and Russia has intensified recently. On July 15th, Chinese and Russian naval fleets carried out joint activities in the western and northern Pacific and conducted a live-fire drill in the South China Sea. On July 24th, Chinese and Russian long-range bombers conducted a joint patrol near Alaska for the first time. Additionally, Chinese and Russian fighter jets often fly together near Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea. All of this is happening 2 years and 6 months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, during a dramatic shift in the war. Starting on August 6, Ukrainian forces crossed the border into Russia's Kursk region and are looking to establish a buffer zone, which has put significant pressure on President Putin. 2 weeks later, on August 19th, Chinese State Councilor Shen Yiqin met with Russian Deputy Prime Minister Tatyana Golikova in Moscow for a China-Russia cultural cooperation meeting. On August 20th, Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng co-chaired a meeting in Moscow with Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Chernyshchenko as part of the regular China-Russia Prime Ministers' talks. From August 20th to 22nd, Chinese Premier Li Qiang made an official visit to Russia, meeting with Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin and President Putin. Chen Yiqin and He Lifeng are high-ranking officials, but Premier Li Qiang, who visited next, is even higher up in China's political hierarchy. His visit, followed by Li Qiaoming's trip to Russia, comes at a particularly sensitive time. So far, China has remained quiet about the exact details of Li Qiaoming's visit. However, China and Russia's military cooperation has become a major focus of both domestic and international attention. What exactly does this cooperation involve? Is it about weapons, joint military exercises, or even secretly sending troops to assist Russia? Recently, Chinese social media has been buzzing with rumors that Chinese troops have entered Russia, either as small volunteer forces or as entire military units. Some rumors suggest that China is about to send a volunteer force of 18,000 troops to help Russia. There are also claims that Chinese bombers have flown from Russian air bases for the first time, leading many to believe that China's direct involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war is imminent. In fact, as early as April 2022, when the Russia-Ukraine war first broke out, some social media users claimed that Chinese volunteers were ready to join the fight in Russia. More recently, there are reports that over a year ago, China recruited serious criminals nationwide, trained them, and sent them as suicide squads to the Russia-Ukraine battlefield. However, the authenticity of these claims remains unverified. On August 25th, Yao Cheng, a former lieutenant colonel in the Chinese Navy, posted on Platform X. He mentioned that Chinese soldiers wearing Air Force ground crew uniforms without military rank badges were spotted on the streets of Russia. If this footage isn't from an earlier time, it suggests that some Chinese soldiers may have already gone to Russia as volunteers, though the exact situation remains unclear. There are several possibilities. First, they could be there to boost Putin's morale and intimidate the West, implying that just as the West can send volunteers, China can too. They might even use the Korean War excuse that Russia's fall would threaten China's security. Second, with the Russian military needing to control the airspace, the Chinese personnel seen are likely Air Force ground crew, who are experienced with Russian-made aircraft and could be effective once deployed. Third, Xi Jinping might be facing a political crisis and could see this war as an opportunity. Limited involvement in Russia offers flexibility, and supporting Putin could also benefit China's plans regarding Taiwan. While the rumors about China sending volunteers to Russia have been widely circulated, South Korean media reported that North Korea is also planning to send troops to help Russia. In response, U.S. Pentagon spokesperson General Ryder warned that any North Korean soldiers sent to Ukraine would only serve as cannon fodder. Some Chinese citizens pointed out that during the Korean War in October 1950, Chinese troops entered North Korea disguised as North Korean soldiers, using various camouflage techniques to remove any signs linking them to China. Similarly, the so-called Chinese volunteers today could secretly enter Russia as disguised North Korean troops to support Putin. Regarding these rumors, US-based commentator Caishen Kun noted on X that while there are many videos and posts circulating about Chinese troops entering Russia, there has been no confirmation from official media. Even if Chinese troops were sent to Russia, the government would likely go to great lengths to hide it. At this point, if China insists on sending troops to help Russia, not only would Chinese citizens be alarmed, but the international community would also be strongly displeased. The likelihood of China sending troops depends on the promises Xi Jinping made to Putin behind closed doors. China and Russia have committed to unlimited cooperation, both economically and militarily. So the motivation for China to send troops exists. China, with more than 40 million unemployed, might find it easy to recruit brainwashed young people with high pay. However, many families with only one child wouldn't allow their children to be sent to such a bloody battlefield. Would Xi Jinping dare to send troops directly to Russia? A Chinese political commentator based in Canada, Wen Zhao, believes that it is unusual for the Chinese Communist Party to send an individual army delegation to visit Russia. While there has been significant interaction between the Chinese and Russian military leadership in recent years, it has mostly focused on strategic coordination rather than at a branch-specific level. Wen Zhao suggested that the likelihood of sending fully formed military units is extremely low. Such a deployment would require more than just sending combat troops. It would involve a comprehensive war system, including command, intelligence, and logistics systems. To achieve this, China and Russia would need to establish a joint strategic command and clarify the chain of command. He also pointed out that deploying a fully organized unit would require complex coordination and could have significant diplomatic consequences, making it difficult to conceal. So the possibility of such a deployment is currently minimal. However, he acknowledged that Chinese soldiers have already appeared on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield, fighting alongside Russian forces. As for how China might provide large-scale volunteer support in the future, Wen Zhao suggests that Chinese companies in Russia could recruit laborers under the guise of work contracts, send them to Russia for training, and then release them from their contracts to join the Russian military. There are many ways this could be arranged. Anders Corr, founder of Core Analytics and publisher of Journal of Political Risk, speculated on August 28th that China might send troops to help Russia push Ukrainian forces out of Kursk. However, such a move would be a massive escalation, likely prompting the US to increase its involvement in Ukraine. More probable actions from China include sending military observers to Kursk, providing Russia with more weapons, increasing military activity across Asia, and conducting more joint naval and air patrols with Russia in Asia and the Arctic. Corr also noted that the cooperation between China and Russia is transactional. In the end, neither dictator fully trusts the other not to exploit each other's weaknesses. The UK's Ministry of Defense estimated in May that since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in February 2022, Russian military casualties have reached 500,000, with 1,200 Russian soldiers killed or wounded daily in May alone. Russian forces are losing soldiers faster than they can recruit replacements. If China were to send troops, they might also face significant losses. As the war drags on, short video platforms have started to feature footage of Chinese individuals fighting on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield. From what's been revealed, at least a dozen Chinese nationals have been fighting in Russia. A blogger shared a video after becoming a mercenary in Russia, expressing his regret. He cautioned his fellow countrymen against getting involved, stating that it's not worth it. He says he only earns about 18,000 RMB per month. Many Chinese who join the Russian military think they are fighting for justice, but end up being used as cannon fodder. They could have had a normal life as ordinary Chinese citizens, but instead, they die disgracefully in a foreign country as invaders. They aren't necessarily bad people, just naive, or maybe brainwashed by the Chinese government. He urged people not to be misled into fighting for Putin. Almost all Chinese mercenaries in Russia strongly discourage others from enlisting. Hello, everyone in front of the screen. I'm half a free man. I'm currently serving a sentence, and I've been in prison in Russia for over 9 years now. I was sentenced to 10 years in total, and during that time, I decided to join a mercenary group. When I first came here, I was with 4 other guys, and one of them joined the Wagner group. Unfortunately, he died after joining in November last year. He was killed in December, just 1 month after joining. Lately, I've seen a lot of people on social media saying they're thinking about coming to Russia to become mercenaries because life in China has become too difficult, and they see no other way out. They think they can come here and earn some money. I want to tell you, it's not that easy to make money here, my friends. There's a good chance you could lose your life. But I believe there's no need to take that path. Life is the most precious thing. If we lose money, we can earn it back by finding other ways. Don't take such an extreme route. According to social media reports, 2 young Chinese men, Liu Hongwei and Liu Jie, arrived in Russia in early June and underwent basic infantry training with the Russian army. In mid-July, they were sent to the front lines of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, joining the Storm Z assault unit composed mostly of foreign fighters. Within less than 24 hours of their deployment on August 1st, both of them were killed in battle. Since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the Chinese government has not condemned Russia's actions nor joined the Western sanctions. Instead, China has expanded its trade relations with Russia, purchasing large amounts of Russian oil, which had been left unsold due to Western sanctions. At the same time, Chinese companies have filled the gaps left by Western companies withdrawing from the Russian market. For a long time, the US and other Western countries have repeatedly warned China against providing military assistance to Russia, presenting evidence that raises suspicions of China's covert support. On May 22nd, former British Defense Secretary Grant Shapps accused China of either providing or preparing to provide lethal aid to Russia for use in the war against Ukraine. He said trade between China and Russia has increased by 64% since the invasion, adding that they are supporting each other. Several senior U.S. officials have also claimed this year that Russia's military operations in Ukraine have received Chinese support, alleging that China has helped Russia with its largest military buildup since the Soviet era, providing drones, missile technology, satellite images, and mechanical tools. President Biden also stated that while China hasn't provided direct lethal weapons, it has provided Russia with technical support to manufacture weapons. China has denied such allegations, while Russia has openly highlighted China's support, almost as if trying to draw Beijing further into the conflict. Observers have noted that Li Qiang's recent visit to Moscow, where he held significant talks with Russian President Putin and Prime Minister Mishustin, is a sign of deepening ties. Li also signed agreements worth 18 trillion rubles across 86 major projects with Putin. The joint statement emphasized the non-alliance, non-confrontation, non-targeting of third countries nature of China-Russia relations. But the language was tougher, signaling their commitment to defend their legitimate rights. This was clearly a message to the international community, especially the US, that despite the complexities in their relationship, China and Russia are still closely cooperating in the face of external pressures. Although the details of China's investments weren't revealed, analysts speculate that they could include critical areas such as Arctic development, agricultural trade, intellectual property, aviation, AI, and surveillance technologies, covering a wide range of economic, technical, and military fields. But behind this extensive cooperation, there are signs that China is seeking to extract more benefits from Russia. What impact might this have on the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Chinese political scientist Zhang Junhua, based in Germany, views this as a negative sign for peace. He believes Xi Jinping is stuck in a difficult position. Putin holds leverage over him. Zhang points out that China's economy is struggling, while at the same time it relies heavily on the West. China's support for Russia has already sparked discontent in the West, leading to partial sanctions against some Chinese companies, alongside U.S. restrictions on critical technologies. In this scenario, it's hard to imagine Xi taking the gamble of openly supporting Putin with large numbers of retired soldiers sent to fight in Ukraine. However, Xi certainly doesn't want Putin to fall, as that would allow the West, led by the US, to focus its efforts on confronting China. Other factors also suggest why Xi doesn't want to see a regime change in Russia. For instance, there is speculation that Putin holds leverage over Xi. One example comes from the 2022 Winter Olympics. where it's rumored that Putin told Xi about his plans to invade Ukraine. Xi reportedly advised him not to act before or during the Olympics. Although China has denied this, if it were true, Putin could reveal it to divert attention, framing Xi as an accomplice to the war. Additionally, despite some archives being opened during Yeltsin's era, many documents concerning China remained sealed in Moscow's archives. Should Russia democratize again and release these files, it could be highly damaging to the Chinese Communist Party.